Today, thank you so much. Today we're going to be recording this session, and the way that this is going to work, we're going to have a panel. So first, we're going to have our staff member Hallie, Director of Value Change, presenting a context of the Learning Collaborative, and then we're going to pass this to our special guests that are Fearless Farmers. And also Disha, who is part of our SFC Farmers Market crew, and also she's part of FarmShare Farmer Start. So Hallie, please join us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Saidi. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm so excited to see so many familiar faces and lots of new faces too. Welcome, everyone. I'm the Value Chain Director here at Sustainable Food Center, which is a nonprofit working across Texas based here in Austin. For 2 decades, SFC has been working to transform the food system to nourish our health, land, and livelihood. We envision a just, equitable, and regenerative food system where people and the environment thrive. And this event is part of our work supporting Texas schools to localize their food supply chains for healthy, sustainable school food. This event is part of our project, the Texas Farm to School Learning Collaborative, which was originally started in 2021. The Learning Collaborative connects and supports Texas school nutrition professionals implementing farm to school programming and buying farm fresh foods. So if you're interested in learning more about that work, look out. If you registered online, we're going to be sending out more information. We've got one more event coming up this school year. And we'll be doing lots and lots next school year as well. So keep an eye out for the Learning Collaborative and our upcoming events. I'm so excited that we're joined today by 3 phenomenal speakers. We've got Amy Milliron. Amy's the founder of Fearless Farmers, an educator and a produce and protein farmer. She celebrates life every day at the Deeply Rooted Ranch. Fearless Farmers was born in 2020 after seeing the impact of education activities on the families in her community. Amy wanted to create a platform to help expand that impact as broadly as possible. She'll be sharing about the different paths of eco-literacy programming that they offer at Fearless Farmers and her role in transforming food systems. Christian Ramirez is a father and lives outside of Austin in the Driftwood Dripping Springs area. Being a lifelong learner, Christian is a proud graduate of the Fearless Farmers Educator Program and the Battleground to Breaking Ground program through Texas AgriLife Extension. Driven by a desire to build stronger community bonds, he serves as a platoon leader with Mission Continues, a nonprofit focused on connecting veterans with under-resourced communities. He's building a garden/farm at his house currently, and he works for Amazon at his day job, where he also, very talented, also volunteers at a school garden. And he'll be sharing part of his experience in the 10-week Fearless Farmers program with us today. Dasha Waits works as a crew member at the SFC Farmers Market every Saturday from 9 to 1, rain or shine. In this role, she supports farmers in their interaction with our oncoming shoppers that we see every week. And in addition, she's also a student in the spring 2024 FarmShare Farmer Starter program. Dasha is passionate about holistic healing and community engagement. And today she's going to share with us about why regenerative agriculture is essential for our future farmers. Welcome, y'all. We're so excited to have you today for our panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Hallie. And we definitely want to know who is in the room. So I put a couple of questions, kind of like invite you to let us know where you're located and what describes you better. We know that we have people from different districts, and also we have some staff members. Mark, welcome. And please answer this chat if you can. So also the panelists have a little bit room to know who is here in the room. Sadly, I don't see any answer. Oh yeah, someone is answering now. Okay, I think this was the time like everyone is writing. Thank you so much. We want to spend this minute to know who is in the room. Thank you so much. Well, I want to recognize that doing this panel has been an amazing opportunity for us in SFC to develop a collaboration with Fearless Farmers. Actually, we are going to be visiting your site tomorrow. We're pretty excited. And so I want to welcome you, Amy, and ask you to please share about your program and your eco-literacy program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and it's so fun to see who's here today. So I appreciate everybody taking time to join us this afternoon, and I'm excited for us to have a conversation together. It's helpful probably to give you a little background about where this journey started. So my background is in farming, but before that was education. And I went to school for education and have my master's in curriculum and instruction. And I've taught various grade levels between preschool, elementary, on up through college. And I've had an incredible opportunity to combine that with my growing farming knowledge. So this that we are going to share today is basically how I have taken a passion of mine, where I have looked at what brings me joy, what I'm good at, and what the world needs now, and looked for where that center point is to see what I can do as I can walk out my life with purpose. And one of the things I noticed is that for me personally, and for those in my life, community was at the center, and building a thriving regenerative community is what I'm extremely passionate about. So we mentioned, or Siri mentioned already, that we have a ranch that is located in Burton, Texas. So if you're not familiar with Burton, it is halfway between Austin and Houston. And we have a lot of fun being able to put into practice here at our ranch what we're going to mostly talk about today, which is Fearless Farmers, and what our nonprofit is able to provide in the effort of building thriving communities. So today I want to share a little background just to set the stage about where this all started. When I grew up, it was in Arizona, and I spent the first 40 years of my life there. And I had the fortunate opportunity to be able to go visit my grandparents' land that was in northern Arizona. We lived in the city in Phoenix, so we didn't have a lot of opportunity to be able to connect with nature the way that we got to when we were visiting my grandparents. And I knew then that there needed to be an opportunity as soon as I possibly could for my own children, for their health, for my health, for the mental well-being of our family, to be able to get to a point where we were connecting with the land in a different way. And our family had the opportunity to move from Phoenix to Austin in 2015. And at the time, we had the chance to buy some land. We had about 12 acres that we bought in the Dripping Springs area, and just start practicing regeneration in any way that we could. And one of the first things I did was approach a farmer at a farmer's market and asked if I could volunteer on their farm to learn more about their regenerative practices. That started a 2-year-long journey of volunteering and learning a lot. I also actually took an internship at the Sustainable Food Center at the same time in the teaching garden, and worked with Liz Cardinal there, and had the chance to be able to really get to know what it looks like to build a thriving community in Central Austin. And at the same time, invite my own community to our farm. And I bought a few picnic tables, threw them out onto the lawn in the very front, and just invited our community to come see what they wanted to learn as we were starting our farm. It grew very organically, where we started adding livestock. I went and got regenerative training and holistic management training through various avenues, and asked the community what they wanted to learn. And a lot of what came up was, we just really want to be able to grow healthy food for our families. And that resonated so much with me personally, because my children were still a little bit younger at the time, and I wanted the chance to really be able to learn myself how to help that nutrient dense food get from the soil to our plate. And that looked like hosting different programs that met people where they were at. So we held small programs where we had farm tours where people would come. There would be an interactive component. They could ask questions. I was learning too at the time. So I noticed that I could write some curriculum, if you would call it that at the time, and build programs around it and invite people to come. And then I would go learn another step of the process, write more curriculum, invite the community to come. And it got to the point where we were offering programs 6 days a week on our farm. And they were things like homeschool semesters where students would come 1 day a week, every week for a whole semester and be able to learn through a drop-off program what it's like to be a part of the full cycle of learning, meaning they were learning how to plan and plant and grow and raise animals and food, and they were learning how to maintain the gardens and help rotate the animals throughout our property. And then they got to be a part of the harvesting process and the post-harvesting process, and we had a farm chef that we hired that brought it to life on the table. And they were able to learn how to cook the food and understand the nutrient density of the food was directly correlated to how we had raised the food. And that made a huge impact. So we continued to offer that program in addition to having preschool days and summer camps and farm to table dinners where community could come. And this was a great chance for us to be able to just continue to have conversations with the community to ask what they wanted to learn. It felt new to a lot of them, but they connected with it in a way that they felt very strongly and passionate about as well. So as we continued to scale, we noticed that we were getting to the point where we had to hire people to stand on the curb to turn folks away. And I knew then that we needed to have a way to basically scale something like this, because there are plenty of people that are doing this same incredible work of regenerative agriculture in practice and placing holistic management principles and practices at the forefront. And I wanted to be able to give them a chance to empower themselves and their own communities to grow in this way. And so let's fast forward a little bit. And we met up with some incredible folks, Tom and Ellie Lawrence, who really wanted to put some land into regeneration. And I mentioned to them that I wanted to be able to start a nonprofit that would be able to empower others to teach what I had created and be able to expand on what we had started creating by basically teaching people so they could implement in their place what we were doing at our farm. And so they offered the opportunity to allow land that they were purchasing to put into regeneration, which is where the ranch is right now in Burton, Texas, to be used as basically like a headquarters for fearless farmers. So here at the ranch itself, at Deeply Rooted Ranch, we have 120 acres in the Blackland Prairie, and we put into practice rotational grazing through our holistic planned grazing sheep that we are raising for meat. And actually this week has been the birth of many babies. And then in addition, we have broiler chickens that we are raising for meat to be able to sell to our community and restaurants, and also layers. And we have a market garden. And the way that we meet the community where they're at is to build relationships that allow parents of children to come through programs where they can connect with the food that we are growing here, who end up becoming consumers of the food that we produce. We also build relationships with restaurants by going to restaurants ourselves, building relationships with chefs and those in our community so that we can have these relationships we can build on to find out how they could use the food that we are growing in a regenerative way. And we also offer places for people to be able to get to know the food that we're growing here by enjoying it themselves. So also on site at Deeply Rooted Ranch, we have a commercial kitchen. And in this commercial kitchen, our culinary program director, Chris Huffman, he brings to life what we are growing and raising on our fields and puts it onto the plate in a way that is so beautiful and so nutritious. And he explains the growth of those of the livestock and how it turns into this nutrient dense food, as well as showcasing that we plan all of our menus here based on what is seasonal and local. And if there are menus that are planned where we can't source everything that we would like from our own land, then we build relationships and partnerships with other farms and ranches that are within 50 miles or less is the ideal to be able to supplement what we are providing for meals here. So one of the first things that we did was we offered a supper club.
You're still getting ready to get in trouble?
No.
They settled in?
And at the supper club,
Yeah.
we have the opportunity to let people come and enjoy the food. They buy tickets, and we do this once a month. And it's also a chance for us to share about Fearless Farmers. So when people come through our Fearless Farmers program, this is our nonprofit program where if folks want to be able to connect and build a thriving community, we encourage people to view their role in that system and decide how to take part based on what we teach. So we have an online asynchronous program that allows for live sessions of connection. And then at the end of that program, that asynchronous program, then we offer a 1 week long intensive here at Deeply Rooted Ranch to put into practice what is learned. And so in that online program, we offer 4 themes. They are Mighty Microbes, focused on soil health, Radical Roots, focused obviously on roots, Love and Livestock, and Farm to Table. That is our culinary component. And within that, we are teaching about content. We are introducing ways for people to learn how to teach children and families based on those themes. And we are also incorporating regenerative agriculture principles and practices, holistic management principles and practices. We also utilize the 5 E's, which is an ecological lesson plan system that allows learners to be able to really learn where they are at according to place. And we teach people how to incorporate these things in and out of the classroom. So our goal of building 1,000 thriving regenerative communities by 2030 looks like educators taking our program, farmers and ranchers taking our program, ambassadors and affiliates, anybody who is excited to be able to help learners of all ages, but particularly children, learn how to understand their place and learn how to understand how regeneration plays a role in their future. We are prepping folks through this program, but in addition, part of what is received at the end of this program is access to our full curriculum that is matched to next generation science standards and is able to be implemented in the classroom and out of the classroom. So what we're seeing happen is farmers and ranchers are taking these programs, educators are taking these programs, they are utilizing and building relationship based on the ability to use the curriculum in a cross-referenced way. So picture a farmer being able to offer field trips on their farm and having a relationship with a school that has also sent teachers through the program, and they are able to coordinate what is being learned in the classroom and what is going to be learned on a field trip or more than one field trip onto a farm. And having that beautiful relationship go back and forth where learners are able to see the connection of what happens in the classroom and what happens on the land. And this is happening all over the United States right now, and we've just opened up to make it possible for this to happen internationally. And we're really excited to see how this is going to grow. And in addition, we're excited to see what else the community needs. So for schools to be able to implement this into the classroom, we've made it so that this asynchronous program, which was previously offered partially synchronous and partially asynchronous, now that we're moving towards an asynchronous model, we're excited to help it make sense into the schedules of what we know to be sometimes a little bit tricky. I was a former public school teacher myself, and I know that sometimes it's hard to build that into our life. So making it asynchronous hopefully makes it a little more accessible. And then in addition, we make ourselves available for one-on-one sessions, for those conversations where we're stuck and we just want to have somebody to talk to and be able to work through the program. We have incorporated the build out of a portfolio as part of the process. And so our course allows for that, particularly for educators, to build out a portfolio to showcase the ability to implement what is learned in the classroom. And we provide feedback and support. And in addition, regardless of who you are and how you come to our learning environment, we provide ongoing support when our program is over. So we have a community where everybody can join the community that takes part with us, and these ongoing community conversations take place. And it's really incredibly inspiring to see people who have already gone through the program showcase how they're implementing what they've learned in their own place, because it helps inspire others to be able to do some of the same thing in their own neck of the woods. So that's the basis of our program and how that applies to our current location here at Deeply Rooted Ranch. And I want to mention just one more thing, because it's kind of a fun discovery that we made. When we moved to the ranch itself, one of the areas of production that we planned on starting with was broiler chickens. It was previous experience that we had at our previous farm, and we were excited to use that as one of our enterprises. And when we got here, within 2 months, the poultry processing facility that we were going to be using closed suddenly. And we were left with questions about how we were going to proceed. We talked to our business partners, Tom and Ellie Lawrence, that I mentioned before, and they were very excited about helping fill this gap. And we now have a USDA inspected poultry processing facility called DRR Processing here at our ranch as well. And when we released this information to the public, farmers and ranchers in Central Texas and beyond who had previously had to drive to Dallas or some of them to Arkansas to have their chickens processed, they were able to switch to come to our location instead. And we now have a waiting list of farmers ready to get involved in having their poultry processed here. So it's really fun for us to be able to be a part of building the community and helping farmers in any way that we can. And so that's why we like to have these conversations to see what can we do? How can we help? Because we hope that what our course offers is a way for people to increase engagement, increase education, jump into this agri-education, agritourism that is so valuable for connecting with a customer or a consumer and helping people really get to know their farmer directly. So what I'm most excited today about is getting to hear from Christian and Dasha and see how they feel about this movement going forward.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. And before we transition to the questions to the panel, I want to mention that community and integrity are core values for sustainable food centers. So definitely knowing how your program is integrating all these aspects in the community, multi-generational. The mission of SFC is to transform the food system to nourish our health, land, and livelihood. And we are committed to really extend this opportunity to different sectors. Of course, Farm to School is one of the programs that SFC is doing currently. And I want to cheer also the ambassadors, the Farm to School ambassadors that are here present today. And of course, yeah, let's continue the conversation, please.
Yes, so let's start with Christian and have you share about your role with Fearless Farmers and how you're looking forward to implementing what you've learned in your place.
Yeah, definitely. So hi, everyone. Christian Ramirez. Like Amy said, I'm a participant of the Jackrabbit cohort through the Fearless Farmers Eco-Literacy program. And for the last 10 or so weeks, new friends and I have been really learning how we can better connect with ourselves, how we can better connect with our community, and most importantly, how we can connect with nature. Also finding our context within regenerative agriculture. Throughout the program, that's really what stuck out to me was finding my context, finding how I can continue to serve my greater purpose within something that can seem so unknown and scary. When we hear regenerative agriculture, just sounds really nervous for people who aren't farmers or who aren't in that community. So some of the stuff that I'm really working to do is help people find how they can continue to serve within that regenerative agriculture in their own way, right? Like Amy and Sarah and everyone says, within our own context.
So Christian, how would you mention to people how you've maybe discovered what you're good at and how that overlaps with what brings you joy and what the world needs now?
Yeah, definitely. One of my biggest takeaways from the intensive at Fearless Farmers and just through life is I am a very curious person and I am a learner. I just love learning anything. I also see myself as a connector. I really enjoy understanding problems, and that follows me from my time in the military, from my current role within Amazon being a program manager. I enjoy getting to know everyone's role and to tackle a specific problem, and then how we can continue to bring the right resources, the right people into it. So Fearless Farmers really just helped me continue to stay on the path to serve a greater purpose with, again, not really having that label of I'm a farmer, I'm an educator, really being able to find what my niche is and who I am as someone who is continuing to want to steward the land and be a part of something bigger.
Yes, and I wish we had lots of time so you could get to know Christian really well, because he's already embedded himself within his community by reaching out to see what his community needed. and filling the needs within his community to build relationship. And so that's a really great way to help build those thriving communities, I know. And, you know, we've talked a little bit before, Christian, but it would be great if you wanted to explain a little bit about your goals and how you want to make an impact socially, environmentally, and financially within your community.
For sure. My goal is to teach my community creative ways to practice regenerative agriculture. Again, right? Like what I mean by that is uh, people who are not farmers or are not in the agricultural space, that is a very, very like, ooh, I don't know what that is, and I don't know if I really want to be involved. However, through my work, I want to address that and help people find the important role that they play in giving back to the earth and getting connected with nature. I am a very proud Mexican American, so my heritage is super important to me, and I want to be able to be more involved in my community and help the Latino community be able to achieve better accessibility to food, understand where our food is coming from to really create those better food systems, not just for Latino veteran community, but all. And additionally, finding ways to be able to connect more with my hyperlocal community. Currently, I joined the HOA for my neighborhood just so I can be more involved and understand what is happening. And I've identified that there is a lot of older people that live in my community that don't necessarily have access to food or access to someone taking them to the grocery store. So one of our goals, my wife and I, is to have a small farm stand here in our direct neighborhood to be able to provide our local neighbors with food and education on how they can practice small bits of regeneration in their lives.
Yes, awesome. Thank you, Christian. And Dasha, I want to have a chance to be able to chat with you as well. And do you mind starting with just sharing about your experience with FarmShare?
Yeah, so I'll kind of reintroduce myself. My name is Dasha. I'm born and raised here in Austin. And I found out about FarmShare on Instagram, actually. I think it was actually through SFC, or it was a couple of years ago. And I finally applied, but I've been loving it so far. I just started in February. It's basically a program. I'm there from February to June, and we're getting like hands-on learning. We're there for 3 days a week. And like the first part of the morning, we're out in the field, we're transplanting, we're weeding, we're on the BCS, we're really in the thick of it with learning how to farm. And then some afternoons, we go and visit other farms. So far, we've been at Eden East. We just visited 14 Acres, which is an affiliate with Tito's. We've been to quite a few places already, and it's been awesome. I finally feel like I found my place and kind of what I'm supposed to be doing. So
That is great. Do you have in mind what you're excited about when you finish the FarmShare program and how you would use what you learned in a new way?
yeah, so my goal is to grow enough food for me and my family, some to donate and some to at least pay half the mortgage. That's the base goal. But I would also like to grow some herbs for my tea shop. I'd like to open up a tea shop and just have a nice space, very Austin type space where, it can be like a speakeasy. People can come enjoy tea, maybe work. And then also packaging and selling maybe value added products. So, kind of really learning the business aspect of it as well is really what I'm excited about.
That's incredible. And does it feel like being in the FarmShare program helps build community too with other people who are like-minded about regeneration? And do you mind sharing a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, similar to Christian, like when I first heard about regenerative agriculture, regenerative farming, I was like, what is that? It sounded like a hot button word or, trendy. And then just doing more research and kind of understanding, it's been around for forever. People have been doing regenerative agriculture and just, indigenous practices, different things like that. So I'm still doing a lot of research on that. But from what I've learned at FarmShare, actually, because they are organic farm, a lot of those practices we are already learning. So it's really nice to kind of jump in and learn how to steward the land the way it was supposed to be stewarded.
Yeah, that makes sense. So why do you think that would be essential for future generations to be able to learn from that type of perspective?
I know it's kind of a controversial topic, but from the research that I've done, it seems like it would really help with climate change, like the carbon footprint and, just keeping the carbon in the soil, keeping it out of the atmosphere, no tilling, different things like that. I think, like I mentioned before, with learning it from the beginning, I think it really helps just to kind of make those things innate, those practices innate, and kind of bring it back because it always has been there.
Yes. And I have to agree. And we do know that regenerative principles and practices, when they're implemented, they will draw down carbon and so much more. It'll impact so many ecosystem processes that we need to and do rely on. And so when we think about water cycles and mineral cycles and all of that, by those practices that we do to draw down carbon and help with climate change, will also address so many other issues. And we talk a lot here about soil health and that we are actually stewarding the soil. We use different tools to do that by implementing our holistic plan grazing with our animals and how we manage our garden. But ultimately, the soil is at the forefront. And I know with Farm Shares program, soil is really important as well. And so it's really neat to be able to be with like-minded folks that know that we have to be able to teach the next generation about that. And I don't know about all of you, but growing up, I didn't talk about soil with anybody. I had my hands in the dirt when I was out playing, but soil wasn't something, I don't even know if I really thought of the word soil. And so if we have a generation of children that are growing up where they understand the importance of protecting soil, imagine the world that we would have before us if that was the focus. And if all they really needed to do is just learn within their context and their place what they could do about that, then it would just be second nature. So we like to talk a lot at Fearless Farmers about how if adults are taking part now to maybe bridge gaps in their own learning that they didn't have access to previously, to help them be able to share this knowledge with the next generation, that's our goal. So that then the adults now can share that information with children so that by the time they are 18 and they're going into their adulthood, they're not having to unlearn and relearn about what they need for their thriving future. Instead, we've prepared them in advance by offering them programs that allow this to just become common knowledge and something that we do. And I'll give an example of an interesting conversation that I had when my son, both my children are adults now, but they are my why, of course. I want to make sure that their future is a thriving one. And when he was going into high school, I went to the ag department and he wasn't going to be taking any ag programs because he said, "Hey mom, we do that at home. I'd rather do fine arts." But I said, let's go talk to the ag department anyway and see how things are done here. And it was an interesting conversation. I talked to a teacher and she said, when I asked about regenerative agriculture and if they teach it, she said, that classroom down at the hall, I think that they do teach it a little bit. And it wasn't really something that they focused on a whole lot. And I saw that as a challenge and an opportunity. We have an opportunity here to be able to make a difference by providing resources. And I think that it's helpful to provide them at a younger age. So if the only time we really are giving learners a chance to touch base with this is through maybe 7th grade level, depending on what's being taught, and then maybe in biology in high school, we can incorporate so much of what we're doing into all kinds of subjects much sooner than that. And we are giving the opportunity for people to be able to come together and learn together in that way through our program. So I think it would be really awesome if we could actually have a conversation about what it would look like to work together across communities, about building those relationships and creating this. We think of it as weaving. If we can weave together what everybody is doing in each of our neck of the woods to help make sure that children have a thriving future, we like to look at it from the perspective of, if you've ever done Preachup's Capra's work with a web of life, or we call it web of interdependence, where imagine that you have imagine that you are an organism, and just take a minute to think of any organism. Maybe you're a chicken, maybe you're a worm, maybe you're a deer, maybe you're bacteria. Imagine yourself as an organism, and then imagine that you are that I wish we could just all be in one place right now. So imagine that we are in one place, and I'll tell you that we've done this little activity recently, actually, that will help paint the picture. We went to White Oak Pastures in Bluffton, Georgia, about a week ago to present at the Regeneration Summit there, Rooted in Regeneration. And while we were there, before we arrived, we actually gave them these little cards, and we said, here are a bunch of organisms. Please have people put them in their name tags and ask them when they checked in to view life through that organism's lens between that time and when I would present at my session. And it gave them a new perspective to think about. When I spoke, the first thing I did was I asked for a volunteer to stand up, share their organism, and then I asked somebody else to stand up and share how their organism was connected to that person's organism. And I had a ball of yarn, and I asked them to hold on to a piece and throw the ball of yarn to that next person who was connected to that organism, and then someone else would be connected to that one. And under this tent, this beautiful web formed using a ball of yarn of how everybody could see how they were connected. And if you can kind of imagine what that's like, and imagine if we were able to do that here, what that would look like, what I would love to think about is we all as humans are part of that web, and we have a role to play as part of nature. And now if we can picture ourselves in our professional and our personal artistry and practice, so maybe we are in a role in an education organization, or maybe we are in a business, or maybe we are a member of a community being able to make an impact in a unique way. How can we use that web concept and create this interconnectedness about how we teach the next generation about regeneration? And I would love to just open the floor and see if we have an opportunity to have a chat right now about what things kind of come to the surface. Anybody have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it'd actually be cool to maybe somehow connect with you and like some of the kiddos that you guys teach, and maybe us, and we can, kind of share what we've been learning and kind of mentor them. Or even if you guys do a visit, I think Michelle and Casey would probably be interested in something like that. I think that'd be cool.
That would be. Thanks, Sasha. Any other thoughts surfacing?
I know that Lucille Berrones is an educator. She has been someone connecting with different type of programs for outdoor education. Lucille, what do you think that
Yes.
could be your connection here?
Well, I was just going to chime in and say, just a little context. I do teach K through 5th grade at a private nonprofit school in Austin, and we do start at 18 months and go all the way to 18 years. And just as like our community practice is, we have an acronym. It's called PACT, and it stands for Peacemaker, Advocate, Creator, and Thinker. And the approach of Fearless Farmers and us also expanding all of the network and the thread that's right here. There's so many ways for, especially as the students get older in middle and high school, and they have community service to do, they've got, interests, and then having some really fantastic resources through folks like yourselves, just to connect our students with them. And of course, with my age group, some of the field trips, I definitely I can see on the horizon for sure. And I have been advocating for myself to take the training as an educator in hopes of being able to do that in the next round in the asynchronous. And I'm really thrilled for lots of different reasons. And I kind of jotted those down, and we'll chime in at the right time. But as far as connection goes, Yes, there's a lot. And of course the farm to school of, we grow what the students grow, they harvest, parents and myself help to prepare. Sometimes the students do, and they eat that. But sometimes the bugs get it all, but we still want to enjoy it. And so reaching out to farm share, for example, to see if we can, purchase some of that food, or, work with any farmers that are regenerative, and being a model, an example of what that, to come and visit, bring the produce, and we could share it together. So some ideas. Yeah.
Thank you, Lucille.
Yeah.
This is an interesting type of work because it's centered at systems change. It's not a one-off type situation. What we offer is not a book that you can check out from the library or buy from a bookstore. It is a way to be able to bring people together to learn from each other and see what emerges, which can sometimes feel a little unsettling because our life up until now, for a lot of us, has been very planned, and we like to be able to give the opportunity to see what does the world need next. That what's happening in our future world isn't going to look like what it has in recent past, and there are a lot of things that we can learn from a little further back, maybe before World War II, that help us see how we can take care of the land in a really great way so that the land can take care of us. And we would like to be able to help people build the chance to just sit and think about what maybe is needed now. So one thing I wanted to bring up is a neat practice that might be helpful is we really focus on sit spots when we are teaching through this transformative process that the people go through. But we also encourage people as part of our curriculum to encourage children to learn about sit spots. And if you've never been encouraged to take a sit spot before, basically you pick a spot that's somewhere that you can visit. Ideally, it would be great if you could go daily, but if you can't, just as often as you can, and sit and just observe, because that power of observation is something that is incredibly powerful for ourselves. It also is extremely informative. So if you're always going to that same spot and you're seeing how the world is changing around you in that same spot, you'll notice things that you haven't noticed before. And this, as a farmer, is really important for us because we need to make informed decisions about what we do with our land based on the animals that come, the diversity that grows, how the water flows, and we need to make decisions about what we do. And if we were to teach children, even just through the power of a sit spot, how to sit and observe their surroundings and make decisions that are holistic, that take into account financial, social, and environmental considerations and impacts, the world would be a different place. And it's as simple as that. So the core of our curriculum is focused on what we call holistic life quests, where we bring all of that to life through real life examples that we encourage folks to learn how to give to children so that they can work together through that decision-making framework. But the first thing that we do is practice the power of observation. So I think it would be really great if we could think through how we can connect through just simple encouragement for each other to be able to take that time to do that. I would love to hear from anybody else who would love to share about ideas about creating this web.
I want to invite our farm to school ambassadors, Emily or Ernesta, to participate. Marisa is here too. If you find any contribution that you want to make to this conversation in your role working with the community.
I would like to see if maybe there's a possibility. I'm an educator here in Austin, and I grew up in a farming community in West Texas, loved it, worked the farms, and now I'm teaching it. I would like to maybe, if we could share, if anybody wants to share any kind of curriculum that we could use in the schools to teach kids, our scholars. It's a high school where I work. And I just feel that there's so many misconceptions about farming and ranching and, different groups. Again, like it was said before, a lot of it can be controversial, but we just need to teach our future generation the benefits of farming and gardening and eating from the garden. I just would like to see if anybody would like to share any type of any curriculum that you might have that I could implement into our educators' curriculum.
Lucille, did you want to share?
Oh, I just thought I'd say that I'd be delighted to. And Amy, as you're talking about sit spots, there is a wonderful online free very large workbook called John Muir's Laws of Nature Journaling. And it is just as a place to go to. It's not necessarily talking directly about farming, but it's going back to that need to really sit and observe and all that arises from that for any of us. And just a little side note, it's another reason why I'm really excited about Fearless Farmers and getting into the educator training, because there's a lot of, honestly, there are various garden school, there's various curriculum programs, educator programs, but this one stands out for me because of that application of your personal reflective process that you go through, that you are inviting us to do, and building on that. But in regards to curriculum, that was just my first thought, honestly, that the John Muir's Laws of Nature Journaling. I don't know if that's something you would speak to, or if that's something you feel is a good one too, Amy. Yeah, it goes really deep, and it shows students from early age, and then goes really complex, and even just for adults, on drawing and data collecting and going to the same place over and over again. Keep, insect safari, keeping it, just using a string for, like my age group or anyone, just to stay in that one spot. And anyway, it's something I am not very tech savvy, but I'll put the name in the in the chat. How about that?
And
Yes,
I do want to invite folks to connect with us to learn about what our program does actually gives access to our curriculum. So our program is teaching folks not only how to go through this very connected, transformative, regenerative journey, but in the process of doing that, there is the practice of learning how to teach our curriculum to folks in their neck of the woods. So when farmers and ranchers and ambassadors and teachers are going through our program, they are learning all about our curriculum, practicing, putting it into place, and then also learning how to create their own lessons to be able to teach to their own place. And so that curriculum is available at the conclusion of our program as a digital version, and to be able to be used from that point on in their neck of the woods. So any locations that are interested in learning more about that, Sarah, if you'll wave, Sarah is here, and she will be the one that you'll be reaching out to connect if you're interested in more. Is there anybody else that wanted to share today?
I'm curious, Christian, if you could share a little bit more about your role in school gardens, and if you've had a chance to do some of that network weaving and knowledge sharing with the younger generations in a school environment.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually joined by Chris Vandenberg, who is also a fellow vet who got me onto the nonprofit called The Mission Continues. And what we have primarily a school that we work with, St. Elmo in Austin. And Chris drives a lot of the connections, and he really got me plugged in to learn more from this principal. And really, we started with building a butterfly garden and really trying to bring, I know SFC has been there before for some events. We actually have an Earth Day event coming up where I will be hosting a small how to plant your own soil blocks and going through that. But we have also done other events within the Linder. I want to say it was like the Linder Elementary School, and just through the conversations of talking to the teachers and the who are volunteering their time after hours to build these curriculums, a lot of it is just through them doing research on the internet, right? No really set spot on where the education's coming from, where the content's coming from. It's really these passionate individuals taking the time to build out what they believe would be a good curriculum for the students to learn. And a lot of it is Chris and myself doing that support. So for this upcoming event, I'm going by in the next couple of weeks, and I'm going to kind of look at what the area looks like so that we can start figuring out, is weeding the best, right? How do we get the children involved so that we can talk about mulching principles and why it's important to keep the soil covered? Hope that answers your question a little bit. But it definitely does kind of build a connection, like that weaving, right? Like Amy said, of bringing various people to the table to solve a bigger problem.
Anyone else who want to share their opinion? I want to be respectful of your time, but is anyone else willing to share? Please, this is a time.
Or if anyone has any questions.
Marisa is here. Yes.
Oh, yes, hi. I'm a farm to school ambassador with SFC and also the dietitian and marketing coordinator at a school district in Lakeway, Texas, outside of Austin. And Amy, I just want to applaud you for this comprehensive approach, because as somebody who's tasked with educating in the school district and not an educator's role, I think it's incredibly important to figure out opportunities to intertwine these touch points of eco-literacy. And kids learn with lots of repetition and lots of repetition. If they hear it once, it may not stick, but if they hear it many different times in many different ways from many different people, then I do think that that is how this eco-literacy can be lifelong. So thank you so much for your work on this. And I can just say from my experience, when I first started here, not a single student knew the word local or what it meant with our food. But we talk about it every year, and every time I'm in the cafeteria, we talk about it. And now I can go into any classroom at any campus, and a student at least at the elementary level can tell me that it means it's from nearby or it's in my community. And I really think that it's difficult to make those connections. Like my scope is in the cafeteria. So when I get to go into the classroom and I get to talk to students in that space and like understand that they've learned something in the cafeteria that they're taking into the classroom is really fantastic. So thank you for bringing that on a larger scale and for duplicating that. Just more broadly. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you to Jennifer, who is here today, and Mark, thank you for being here today. I mean, as part of the leadership team, it's very important for us to share these topics and to have the educators having the opportunity to share their thoughts and their passion too. I have some closing points. I definitely want to invite you to take a look of the programs that Fearless Farmers have available. As you hear, there's several paths that you can choose. You can become a farmer certified or educator certified. We need everyone, and this is a nesting work. It's like everybody is invited to be part, and there is different levels as we have been discussing. Of course, support your farmers, support your farmers, support your farmer. We need to dedicate that time to really have those conversations with the community, listen to the community. We also want to invite you to please stay connected with SFC. If you have not been having the chance to sign up for the newsletter, please sign up in the newsletter so you will get information. Our big event, Farm to Table, is coming very soon. So please stay connected with us, and we will invite you to the next online virtual conversation that is going to happen in May 8th. Thank you so much for the time that you spent with us. Thank you to the Farm to School ambassadors, to the communication program that is here in Value Change. And thank you so much to Christian and Daisha to share their experience, Sarah and Amy from Fearless Farmer to be here today.
Thank you, Sadie. I just wanted to share with everyone, we are going to be posting this recording and we're going to be sharing some of the links that were shared out in the chat, as well as some more information about Fearless Farmers over email. You're also going to be seeing a survey email from us. If you can, please take a minute to provide us a little bit of feedback about this event and how we could do better in the future, what you liked about this one, and that will just help us to make even better events in the future. But I just want to thank everyone so much. Thank you, Sadie, for facilitating a great event. And I appreciate everyone for being here with us today.
Thank you, everybody.